Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, hopefully good day wherever you're at in the world. Here it is, Car Stereo Talks. I'm running it solo. Not entirely. I do have a guest, Dan Bowmen from Titan Motoring out of Tennessee. He's going to be here. He's going to be playing with us. He's going to be having lots of fun. I'm super excited because I love talking with Dan. And so I'm excited to have you guys here so that we can direct things towards him and make him super uncomfortable and have a wonderful time. But before we do that, as always, it is Monday, which means we have the 12-volt Clean Wire Club to deal with. Now, I feel bad because I don't know who the winner is this week because Fernando is not here and he didn't text me. So I don't know who it is. But somebody did a fantastic job wiring up some Helix amplifiers inside of a Chevy. And of course, this week is brought to you by the IRTA 2, which is our electrical RTA 2-channel. For those of you guys that are interested in this piece, I'm gonna say something strange. Don't buy it today. If you're interested in buying it, don't buy it today because we're going to have a sale on it here in the next couple days. So it'll be worth the wait. And so if you're interested, also, if you go over to Instagram, we show it working on a Samsung device. Oh my God, Android. Oh. So make sure to head over there to watch that. I don't want to talk anymore. I'm going to bring Dan in real quick. Boom. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
No. Thank you for coming on and playing with us on this fine Monday morning. Why don't you kind of, I know I introduced you, but no one does a better introduction than themselves. So tell us who you are, Danny.
Sure. I am the sales manager at Titan Motoring here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I've been in this industry since late 1998. And over the years, I've sort of gotten more and more involved with the industry. I speak at Knowledge Fest. I've gone to Expo. I've worked with Morel, done some manufacturer things. And, I'm like an anchor. Whatever you need me to do in the industry, I'm there.
And I think that's what makes us so it's because we pretty much have the same thought pattern when it comes to that. It's like,
Yeah.
Whatever you need us to do, man, we're there. We'll do it. Sure. Sounds good. It's amazing how far you can get with just saying yes, even though it's probably a bad idea.
I don't know. It's been all good so far, right? Got to see some places and do some things.
Oh yeah, I know, but you never know. It's one of these days. I know I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to go, why did I say yes? But until
Yep.
then. Good evening,
Yep.
Brad. How you doing, buddy? Christian, hey, we'll say really quick. Dean is naysayers wrong. You guys are funny. What's up, Angel? How's it going?
Hello.
Hot everywhere. Yeah. What's the weather like where you guys are at?
Well, not too long ago, I got in my car to go grab something to eat, and my truck thought it was 115 degrees. So that's probably wrong, but it's definitely north of 100 today.
Wow. Hey, Marty.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy for sure.
What's it like by you guys?
It's
Humid
funny.
and humid?
It's funny because it's definitely hot, and I'm getting older, so the hotter it gets, the less I want to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only like 90. You know,
That's it.
that's it. It's just 90. It's been like 90 this whole. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's okay, 100%. Yeah, 100% humidity, but it's not been bad. It's not been bad. I don't know. Florida's the best place ever. Crazies and decent weather.
All right.
I don't know. It's what it is. Are you ready to dig into this?
I'm ready.
Okay. So for those of you guys that are watching, if you have questions, Dan is a fantastic sales guy. He is extremely, I'm going to just call him brilliant when it comes to this stuff. And he has a very unique perspective on how to do this. I have stolen more from him on how to do this as far as talk to people and because I really like what he does. So if you have questions, he's going to have answers. Ooh, I stole that. All right, we're going to start with this one. I really need some advice. I have a 2024 Mustang GT. How can I get signal from my amps and find the wiring for the doors and dash? I've looked everywhere and can't find anything on this. Now, I know you're not an installer, and this is one of those questions. However, I'm going to look at it as the guy walks into the store and he's got a 2024 Mustang and you've never seen one before. So what is your process for dealing with something like this other than going and getting Ray?
Yeah, first thing I do is walk out to the car and figure out if it has the OEM premium sound, because then I've got half a shot at having a plug-in preamp. And so if it is Bang & Olufsen or whatever it's called, hopefully there's a plug-in preamp. Either, there's 3 brands in that space. From there, if it's basic audio, I'll do speaker count, figure out what I need to be able to feed into my amplifier, and then go to the last place I remember the amplifier when I was in the bay and see if it's up above the driver's kick and see if it looks like what I'm used to seeing, or do I need to go and Google, what am I up against? So if it's premium sound, plug-in preamp for sure. Look to see if there's an amp bypass harness to make installing easier. From there, just figure out how many channels I've got and make sure that my integration device can accept all the channels that I need to get full range.
And so the integration device he's talking about is an A to B, which is PAC has one, Metro has one, Mobridge has one, and soon iData will have one. There, as far as harnesses, PAC sells harnesses, Metro sells harnesses. So that would be.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah. There's pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So there would be solutions that'll be available to you. As far as finding something like that online, probably not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, go to the speaker, go to the manufacturers. So go to Metro Online, go to Mobridge, I still go to pack-audio.com. Those are out there. All Googleable.
Yeah, so I'll make it easy. Oh, wrong one. There you go.
There you go.
We have a slide for that.
Yeah, if you can't get it done with those websites, you got to look again.
All right, let me hide that current comment. And all right, Chris is playing along. Okay, let's here we go. Hey, Dean, Dan, and the rest of chat. Was a pleasure meeting you and Fernando this past Saturday. Thanks. Let's talk about that for a minute. You're a fairly popular guy. Titan is a big place. What kind of traffic do you guys get in there? And do you ever get anyone that comes in and goes, "Oh my God, you're Dan"?
Yeah, so it can vary from day to day, but we can get anywhere from on a slow day, 1.5 people to we have 30 people come through in a day. With our social media exposure, people will recognize me, recognize my voice, and come over and say, "Hey, I like your videos." I did get noticed. I got recognized at a Chipotle, so I'm like near superstar. Yeah, yep.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that.
And I was I was sitting there with somebody not car related, and this young guy came over and was like, "Hey man, I love your videos and all that." And then after he left, my friend goes, "Are you internet famous?" I was like, no, not really. In a very small world, I might get recognized like that. Yeah. But we have people come in, they recognize us, just like I imagine, with you guys have a huge presence. So the difference is, I think that people just be like, okay, I saw what you were talking about, and then they're happy to go talk to one of the other counter guys. So it works out pretty well. Whereas you get called up to the front a lot.
I get called up to the front a lot. It's always fun. Because Fernando, he doesn't call my phone because he knows I won't answer it. So Fernando has a specific ringer just for the front. And so we know it's him calling, and we'll be like, ugh. I like this one because this one I feel is this is right up your alley. Is it difficult to keep up with the ever-changing variety of products coming to and leaving the market?
It'll eat you up if you let it.
Now, you guys don't just do 12 volt. That's just a small subset of the responsibilities you have. You guys do wheels and tires, lift kits, full resto mods, wheels and tires, lighting, car programming, body control module swaps. You have a full mechanic crew back there. So, like, what is some of your best practices for kind of keeping on top of that?
So I stay on top of trade journals whenever possible. I will. I'm probably one of the few guys in this industry that still loves all of it. So, like, I'm at home watching YouTube reviews of equipment. I'm meeting up with vendors trying to find out what's coming. So I like to stick with the old faithfuls, the things that I love, but I'm always looking for like the better mousetrap. So if it's like a commodity thing, I am not going to be like a ferret and go from thing to thing to thing, right? We'll just stick with the things we like on the things that are proven, tried and true. And like, it'd be really hard to get me to go a different way. But when it comes to looking for things like the most boutique-y amplifier or suspension, like I'm a suspension nerd, like that's the stuff. Like, I'm always trying to push the envelope, but I want to have, the things that I know are going to predictably work every time.
Yeah.
So it can be easy to get lost in the fray for sure. But having legacy brands, being known in your market for those particular brands or those services really does help build your client base.
Mary Lou says, "Hi, y'all. I will always remember Dan as taking his shirt off in the middle of training in Atlantic City. Great training, Dan. You took your shirt off?
Who knows?
Oh my gosh. I like this one. Dan, what new stuff is coming that Dean can't talk about?"
There's a lot of new stuff that Dean can't talk about, and neither can I.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's what happens. All right, hang on. Let me go back to this one.
Because the moment we spill the beans, we don't get to see the new stuff months before you do.
Yeah, and that's honestly the only reason why I do this. I mean, it's just. I mean, I flew out the way to California I flew all the way out to California so I could spend a day with the guys at ARC so they could tell me all the cool stuff they have coming out. So I'll do dumb stuff like that. Dan, how did the Morel sub fourth order bandpass sound you did in the Challenger?
Oh, it's fantastic. The only way for us at Titan to do bass in any of the Mopars is fourth order. So I really like that Morel Primo sub. It doesn't take a lot of power to get to where it needs to go. It reaches down with plenty of authority. So it worked out really well. We were using, Morel's least expensive subs. We used regular like S series Alpine 600 watt amp, and it more than overran factory audio and could definitely keep up with upgraded mids and highs with a little amp pushing that too. Is it going to shut down Broadway here in Nashville? No, but it definitely bumped.
Okay. Christian is kind of a Morel nerd. Yeah, it says my 2019, I wasn't lucky on 9-speaker, non-BO, just can the factory. I mean, yeah, MFT1 all the way. All right, let me go down here. Okay, I think Cuddy might actually have a good one. Hey, Dean, I have an upgrade itch. Okay, I have a Kenwood 9707 head unit. I'm going to upgrade to a Kenwood 1057 iData RR2 5-channel amp. I already have the Hertz Milli Pros in the front and the Kenwoods in the rear. 2017 Traverse, no Bose, 6-speaker. Now, you are the upgrade king. Like I love the way you've always structured how you break apart stereo versus infotainment. This is clearly an infotainment upgrade that he's talking about doing. You've had guys come in that are just, they got to have the newest, hottest thing. How do you handle that? Like, I mean, obviously there's some moral value that I feel like as a good salesman you have to have, meaning sometimes it's just not right for the guy to do it. Sometimes it makes total sense. This is a 9707, which means it's only a generation back. And the 1057 has been in the marketplace for going on, 3 years now?
So larger screen, right?
Yeah, larger screen, big floating screen, 7-inch. So, you got your customer that comes in. He's got the last generation. He doesn't have the current generation, but you know that this other one is better. It's bigger, but it's kind of old. So what do
Sure.
you do in a case like that? How do you handle that?
Yeah. So, I mean, what jumps out immediately is going from a 7-inch radio to the big radio. So there's perceived value there, and we see a lot of clients doing that. So from a connectivity standpoint, whether it's your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto and having a backup camera, you're not really taking a step backwards, even though the 1057 is maybe a little bit of an older, architecture. So if there was a big step backwards, that's when you really have to stop and be like, look, you're giving up a lot of features just for a new model number. So, like, for example, if you're going from something as high level as 9707 to one of the more entry level pieces just because it was newer, that's where I would start to lean on the fact of, what are the things you're giving up, But if I were to talk about, I'm looking at this audio package and see, hey, we're going from a 7 to a 10, and these are the other pieces that maybe I'm looking at, or by mentioning these pieces, are you looking for a suggestion of where to upgrade? That's when I would start to add in my opinion as to where I think money is best spent. I think a 10-inch floating radio is definitely cooler than a 7, so I can get behind that. If we were talking about where do we spend a bit more money, if we have a couple more dollars to spend, we talk about adding more power, better power, DSP. And that's typically how I'll do it, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, as long as your phone connects and you have a clear audio path, that's that connectivity thing that you were just talking about. Connectivity and upgrade and the overall look does nothing for your sound, right? So if it's a gadget factor and how things look, that's an important thing. But you do need to segment that from your budget if you're trying to do an overarching package, because it can be very easy to be like, okay, like how much is that radio? How much is an RR2 and the labor associated with it, right? I don't think you can get
it's like
my shop.
$1,800. It's like $1,500 to $1,800. Yeah.
So if someone comes in and they have a $4,500 stereo system budget, and we just shoot up $1,800 of it on their radio and their interface and the labor associated, that didn't leave us a whole lot of money to make their sound better. So that's where we start to have that conversation of breaking it into two things, because it is two things.
Right. And in this case, I mean, the 9707 is like you said, it'll give you just as good audio as a 1057. And for the amount of money you're going to spend on all those accessories, it almost makes sense just to go out and buy a DSP. Maybe a standalone DSP of some kind, unless you just like the wow factor. You can't get away from it.
Yep.
So, all right, moving on. Looking at Audio Express news website, looks like automotive manufacturers are going to make it integrating harder and harder. I guess it will keep the car audio folks on their toes. So you guys have Ray, who is like the integration king. But there again, wheels, tires, lifts, lights, all this stuff is all the things you guys deal with. Like what are some of, like, how do you handle that? What is the protocol for Titan as far as keep it on top, on their toes, so to speak?
Well, we have no choice because that's what comes to the front door. Right. It's actually funny because we recently had like an old G body, like a 87 Buick T-type come in. There's no integration, right? It's the most simple harness. Speakers go in with, there's no room for interpretation of how you're going to do that car. But yet, new generation installer struggled for a day on a radio, an amp, a sub, and speakers in factory locations. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, nothing's plug in. Okay. Right. I was like, the biggest thing you have to, there are no problems here.
Yeah.
So it would seem that I think our techs, because of the cars that we see in here more often, which is mainly newer cars, mainly higher option cars, we are like, that's our comfort zone, is going to the integration. And you have to have tools. You have to have access to things like, we have access to All Data. We have access to Mitchell. We have access to technical support guys. I can call you. You've probably already seen it, right? Because you're high volume as we are. you're probably as high volume on your 12-volt side to a
Right.
degree, right? So, and it's just kind of every single year they said cars are harder to integrate with, right? Think back to when you couldn't just turn on the factory amp with 12 volts. You had to use 5 volts.
Chevy
and then it
Cavalier
was data terminals. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's the thing. I mean, when there's a will, there's a way. Car manufacturers have constantly made it harder and harder for us to do anything, but I don't think we'll keep struggling. Do you think,
remember real quick? Do you
Yeah.
remember when Nissan had an amp on every speaker?
Yes. The Bose.
Right.
Yeah.
Or how about when Chrysler had the amp for the front and rear speaker on that side attached to the front amplifier?
Yeah, it's attached to the front speaker. Yeah.
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 That's a bigger pain in the butt than one amp in one place.
I mean, just even like we still get some of the Infinity Dodge Rams where the amplifier sits on top of the airbox. And like you have to get to that plug,
Yeah.
And you are going to be bloody by the time you get to that plug, no matter 100%. Whatever tricks you have. But yeah. Or Corvettes. Remember the Corvette with the Bose 4s in the floor, with the amp, and it's like oh god, yeah.
Yeah, and where's the tuner?
Yeah. Oh, in the back. Yeah. It works. I can't find it. Pull the cardboard out. Do you think companies should always put MSRP on their website? Seems like 90% do, but are a few. And all right, hold on. A few there are.
Yes.
And don't spending at okay. You get the question. You've read it by now since I've fumbled through it.
I absolutely think that manufacturers should put MSRP on their website.
So
100%.
So how do you feel about brands that have Amazon stores, like legit brands that are legit on Amazon? Like they said, you know what? They're not faking it. They're not like, because we know there for a while some manufacturers like, we're not on Amazon.
Yeah.
No, that's not us. Quiet.
Yeah. As long as it's at MSRP, I don't care.
Right. And that's kind of my thought. I mean, someone recently was complaining about, I don't know if it was Reddit or it was Tamir or whatever. They were talking about how Rockford has an Amazon store. And I was like, and?
Yeah.
So, I mean, big deal.
It creates awareness.
Yeah. I mean, they're controlling the narrative by doing that. So anything they're doing on there, they get to have a say in. So if they decide to lower the price on it, that usually means that there is some kind of a discount going on the other end as well. So we've
or trailing credit or something.
Yeah. So there are some manufacturers out there though that are kind of splitting the way they're doing business, is where they're making pieces just for the internet and then just for this, and they're kind of being coy about it, which I don't think is. I think they're that's kind of a dick move.
I mean, if you think back, like Rockford, for example, they had a line that was specific to big box, right?
Yeah.
Or another company that had yellow product, red product, and then blue product for a little bit.
Yeah.
And, as a retailer, you can decide whether you want to play in the more entry level lineup if it fits your need. Otherwise, you can just stay away from it and say, hey, I tend to lean higher in that product, and here's why.
Right. And there again, I also look at it all as brand awareness. I mean, if you and I are both doing this in a really long time, you remember back in the day when the manufacturers used to give us money to advertise?
Yeah.
And what did we
do for advertising?
And what did we do with that money?
No, spent it
on anything other than advertising. Hey, we're all going out to get pizza tonight and make a car payment. So, from that perspective, it's hard for manufacturers to like trust us almost. So I feel like they have to, it's a symbiotic relationship. We want these manufacturers to go out and get known, but we also want them to have faith in us to do the right thing with their brand. And I honestly don't think we've done the best job at that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's face it. Do you guys advertise? Do you do print? Do you do radio? Do you Does your retail store do any of that?
Us? No.
Yeah. Neither do we. So how does the awareness get created other than big platforms like Amazon, like Crutchfield? Uh, by all means, anytime that I've had sort of like, let's go back to Morel when they went into Crutchfield, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden the awareness was 10x. People had heard about it. I didn't have to explain that it wasn't a mushroom, right? and then I still had the better warranty. I can match their pricing, so it was win-win because I didn't need to advertise to gain those sales.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And again, I just, yeah. Angel says the auto industry has been making it hard for years. We always find a way. Knowledge is the key. Stay on the forefront of aftermarket tech. You have to continue to learn. And
What if I said, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What if I said at the same time they're making it easier for us because they're pushing the envelope of what the average car driver, not 12-volt consumer, what the average car driver is experiencing. So then the enthusiasts have to push further when they're chasing that dragon of what they're after, right? So when someone comes in and they've got something that's got 4 pairs of speakers factory and it has a factory subwoofer, the bar is already at a level where their audio system now has to be bigger as they're chasing whatever that is, right? So while yes, maybe some of the OE stuff gets in our way, but let's face it, look at remote starts for those folks out there doing remote starts that are doing like 8-wire OBD2 hookup remote starts. I would say that your life is easier, right? I would say for the fact of we have when we have plug-in preamps, we don't have to fight noise for the most part anymore, right? We have better locations. We have more awareness because it's just like, oh, I just bought this car, but I couldn't afford the premium sound and I couldn't afford the ambient lighting package. Now we have the opportunity to sell because the manufacturer tried to push us out of the ambient lighting package, but not, they still sell low model cars. So we get to dress them up. So I think it's as much, you can choose to look at it as much an opportunity as you can a roadblock. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
You're doing great today, Elias. You really are. Okay. Very well said. All right, here's a big one. Why not? Hi, guys. 2019 F-150 with the BNOs. Yeah, Zen 8 to 10 Tosh, RCAs to LC 61200 for throwback. Having a hard time getting correct voltage readings on speaker outputs on the LC. Still getting my millivolt, okay, so test tones, play pink noise, play music. I have contacted audio control and getting the voltage even in the RCAs. Not making any sense. What am I missing? I've been reading, watching, Google. Please help. Okay, so you guys do a lot of F-150s?
We do.
How do you guys handle the power wire in that particular vehicle?
So we will run obviously power from the battery and then ground down to the frame. I'm pretty sure you run your ground back up to the battery, but we go down to the frame.
So funny thing, originally that's what we did because I was like, give me a break. The problem we ran into is at the time Nav TV was making the Zen A to B, and their policy was if you don't go to the battery, we're not going to service your product. So we had a guy that come down from Georgia, and we had done that, and they wouldn't service the 8. There was something wrong with the module, and they wouldn't touch it. So he had to drive from Georgia back to us. We had to run a 0 gauge back up to the battery, and then he drove from us over to, because he bought it, he drove from us across the state over to Nav TV, where they then swapped the unit. And so ever since then, we've always just gone power and ground directly to the battery, just because, once bitten, twice shy kind of thing.
Right.
But I'm thinking with the Zen A to B module, if That's an interesting one. But yeah,
We tried resetting it.
yeah. The Zen, as it got longer in the tooth, started to be not as reliable as the first versions of it. I don't know if you guys experienced any of that, Joy.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
We reserve Zen for European cars for the most part.
yeah, yeah. Now it just Mobridge. All right, here's a good one. Thoughts on super budget brands like CT Sounds and Scars? So basically, internet brands. Do you guys get much of that walking through the door? And if so,
Not a whole lot.
how do you deal with it, or how do you feel about it? What are your thoughts on that one?
So obviously, I want all the manufacturers to make plenty of money, and I want any of the shops that support that to do well with it. We will see more Scar come through than CT Sounds, but we don't necessarily have a reputation for being a big boom shop.
Right.
So, and what ends up happening is our standard labor rate is $199 an hour, right? If you buy your product from us, we're $159 an hour. So we'll have that discussion, like, hey, like, I understand that it looks like you got a lot of magnet from Scar for your money, but since we don't know that product inside out, right?
Yeah.
Can I show you this product that we know how to make perform? And in that process, I can handle all your warranty stuff, and it also drops you into our preferred labor rate, which will save you a bunch of money, and kind of go on from there. And if they say no, they're really happy with that. Their buddy has them, and so on and so forth. Well, then fine, we'll do it. But it's at our standard labor rate, and if there's a warranty issue, they pay every step along the way. But I mean, I have to say, I've seen some, you see a Suburban go by that's got like 4 18-inch Scars and only has two rows, the first 2 rows. Like, those things are bonkers. It's just not what we do day in and day out.
No, not for sure. And they're right down the street from us. So actually, one of my buddies is designing the boxes there now. Some of their prefab boxes that they're building. Actually, all the prefab boxes they're building. And they're actually legit, man. These boxes these guys are putting out are fantastic. Just a Scar on it. I'm trying to get them to make it smaller or removable. And they're like, they're like, it's probably a good idea, because they're limiting their sales because of the bias of, I don't want to say that. Regardless of if it's a Scar or not, if you're a Rockford guy or whatever, you don't want your box to say Alpine.
Right.
So, okay. Do you feel big soundboard is necessary? Mentioned to Dean yesterday, many have a lot of empty spots. Do you feel the hurt of the brick and mortars, or the bricks to clicks? Okay, so you guys just got done doing a major remodel within the last, 6 months?
It's maybe a little longer at this point, but yeah, somewhere near there.
Time flies when you're not paying attention. And before that, you guys had an okay showroom years ago, and then you guys grew a lot, and the showroom became almost the secondary warehouse, which I can totally relate to. But then, you guys have since moved some stuff, rearranged the back, got an off-site location, and that gave you the ability to go in and redo your soundboards. How's that working out for you?
On average, I demo the soundboards 0 times a week.
High five.
Honestly, I mean, and now we just have a ton of money on display that we don't go to. Like, so yes, I think it makes sense to show visually when somebody walks in that you support a brand. Like, this is the brand that is going to end up on the estimate. You have to show that. But I mean, honestly, so we have the MSC display, right?
Yep.
And we have $4,000 plus 4-channel on display. We've got like $2,000 or $3,000 separates on display, and that stuff plays the background music in the shop. Our old soundboard got moved into our waiting area, and we rehabbed that and put a whole bunch of stuff on there. And I've demoed it, and you saw it when you were here in Nashville. And I've demoed it twice. Again, because most of the sales start off as connectivity and what does it look like, and then from there, relying on what we suggest from past experience.
Right.
And then after the shop tour and they see some of the things going on, let's face it, most of our customers don't know what model numbers they have, right?
No.
I will get phone calls and say, hey, I'm talking to a buddy. Can you remind me what I have in my car? Right? So does it really matter? And like when I had my shop for years, we had a radio on display that we sold, a Macintosh single DIN CD player, which you couldn't buy anymore, and 4 pairs of speakers. And that was it, you know? So I don't think you need a big display. I think that square footage could be used for other stuff.
Do you guys have a show car?
We do. Yep.
Do you
Yep.
ever,
And I probably, if you were to average it out, I probably turn that thing on less than once a month.
which car is that? Is that
The
his?
Mercedes S-Class.
I was gonna say that's his expensive Mercedes, and then with the wheels that don't work.
The wheels work as long as you don't drive it.
Yep, I understand. All right, moving on. Looking to do my first audio upgrade on my own this weekend. Just doing the rear speakers. I've watched tons of videos and have taken notes. Any tips on the number one thing to watch out for as a beginner? Now, you have an installation manager, which is Ray, correct?
He's a store manager. Yep.
He's a store manager. And so do you guys break your guys into teams, or do you have like somebody special? How do you know who's going to be working on your cars?
So we try to play to the strengths of the technician.
Okay. Makes sense.
So if because we have 8 12-volt techs full time.
Oh wow.
And they're broken into 2 teams of 4. So if it's like someone who specializes in fabrication, it's very rare that we're going to have them do a pair of speakers, right? And we have like 3 or 4 guys. Yeah, we have 3 or 4 guys on the team that are production in and out is their bread and butter. So we just kind of aim toward the guy that makes the most amount of sense for the work. And then, any tips on the first thing to watch out as a beginner, just make sure you got the right tools on hand.
And that was going to be my next question. You had talked about your guy that struggled with what you would consider the most basic thing ever. What do you do for your guys to get them up to speed?
Yeah, so they go to trainings, like we go to Knowledge Fest and things like that. We try to promote the idea of being involved in the industry forums, industry Facebook groups and stuff like that, which is a double-edged sword, right? Because Tech Flex and Split Loom do not make you a MasterTech, right? So
yes, they do.
Yeah. Hello, sir. How are you? There's no industry where people get paid real money where there's not some amount of continuation of education. So stay on top and try and get better. Try and get better a little bit every week. We help hold people to being MECP certified, going through that, right? So even our sales guys are as well. Even Phil, the owner, is MECP certified, and he's super proud of that. It passes by the very narrowest margins, I'm sure, but he gets
I'm sure he goes by it every day and goes,
yeah, high-fiving himself, right?
Yeah.
We've even got mechanics that are looking to do their MECP just to brush up on their 12-volt because they do diagnostic and things like that.
Okay. I think this was a response. It says, I never had anything mid or high level quality. I've just seen my buddy's stuff is awesome. I could put my buddy's stuff is awesome. That's why I'm curious. Thanks again. I'll continue to shoot for my Rockford build. Okay, but this brings up an interesting question. So, after sitting through a couple of your early morning Sunday sales classes, and questioning why did I get up? Oh yeah, I know I got up. Um, how do you approach the new customer that comes in? Like, what is okay? So I'm walking in, I see you at the counter. You're not doing anything at this moment in time that I care about, and I just go, hey, I found a parking spot a mile away. Can you help me? I want to put an audio system in my car. I want it to bang. Kind of walk me through the process that you would press upon me, as it were.
Yeah, perfect. So the very first thing I do is I'd say, can I have your keys? I'm going to go get your car and park it right in front of the door so you don't have to walk back, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate you dealing with our parking because it is a mess. No matter where you put it, it's going to be wrong. We're going to have to move it anyway. So then from there, while I'm moving the car, I'm also kind of taking my impression of what I'm seeing, right?
Okay.
Because it doesn't matter if it is an old Chevy Cavalier or a brand new Mercedes or a pickup truck or whatever, right? No matter what it is, doesn't matter the dollar figure. If you've come into the shop to ask about an upgrade for it, well, then it's important to you. So therefore, it's got to be important to me, right? And it doesn't matter that we do, we're fortunate. We get to do these big, dumb, crazy jobs, but in the grand scheme of things, it's that every person that walks through is important, right? So get the car, see how it's equipped, see how you keep the car, right? If I can veer off just a little bit, I can tell you, I had a lady call me one time, and she had an LS 430. And what do LS 430 customers call you with other than a rattly factory subwoofer, right?
Yeah.
And at the time with the Lexus, I used to just tell them, go buy the factory woofer from the parts department. I will charge you less than the dealer does to put it in, and then you'll be good as gold, right? But I said to her, have you ever considered something a little bit better than factory? So she came over to the shop, and this was before Titan. And when we go out to look at the car is 2 generations old, but it is showroom fresh, right? It's got Michelin tires on it. It's got WeatherTech mats. It's got Bosch wiper blades. That right there tells you that person wants the better mousetrap. And because it is showroom fresh, and in the midst of conversation, said, I can go get the new one. I just don't like it, right? Well, that means now let's talk about what are the things that are missing in this car for you. So you pull up to me. One of the things I'm going to ask is, what is it that's missing? Is it volume? Is it depth? Is it clarity? Is it connectivity? And you say yes to all of it, right? So then it's just like, okay, are you looking for a little upgrade? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, right? On 10 being like, wow, I think I would weep if I heard this, and 1, it's hot trash. Like, where is this, right? And if you say it's a 2, but cool, are you trying to get to 10, or where are you trying to get? And you're like, oh, I just want it to be a 6. Okay, perfect. If this was my car, this is what I would do for you, right? This is what I would do for me. So I would want connectivity, right? It's a little bit of an older car. Let's at least get you CarPlay, keep you safe. Can't put a price on safety. That's my job, right? But the radio costs you this much money, right?
Yeah.
If we were to leave it alone, you're going to get better sound, providing everything in the car is in good working order. But let's just presume you've got some rattly speakers. Your front ones are going to be by far your most important. So if we can, let's take this amount of money, which I'm just going to pull a number because I don't want you to just put a budget in front. I'm going to talk to you about all the things I want to do, and and then go from there. From there, put a number in front of you, and then just shut up for a second and let you digest, right? So it would likely be a radio separated, front speakers, a 4-channel amp, and a subwoofer as the most basic of upgrades, and explain to you how this is giving you a path to upgrade in the future, right? And then before you have anything to say, I'm going to say, now, if you're wondering, if I had more money, where would I spend it? And then I would go into my first level of upgrades. Because now you've just considered, oh, so there's more above this, right? You came in, you said, I know nothing about this, right? I've got this car and I would like it to be better. So I've put upgrades that It's going to make 90% of the population happy. But then pose, like, if you're already considering doing something better than this, where would I put that money? Because I'm on your side, right? I don't care where the number lands as long as you're happy with it. So from there, if you're like, okay, well, talk to me about that. How much more do I have to spend? And it's like, well, if I had $500 more, I would probably spend a little bit more money on the amplifier and I'd add the back speakers. But if you're going to go that far, then you should consider sound deadening, because it makes the car a nicer place to be, whether you got your stereo on or off. Then I'd explain that, and I'd put that in its own little subsection, right? Now, if I haven't scared you away, what I'd really like to do is use that 4-channel amp to power your front speakers and add a monoblock for your sub. What do you think about that? Right? And at some point, we're going to go past the number you thought you were comfortable with, get to the number that you can sort of justify to yourself. And then I might talk about finance, maybe. I forget too often, but we're just going to let it sit, right? And if you say, like, that all sounds awesome, but I really can't do it, what is my next step? Well, let's at least get you the connectivity, and I'm here when you're ready for the next step. I'm not in a rush. I'm here when you're ready. Look at me. I got plenty of stuff going on. So I'm super happy to do this. I'm super happy to do the whole thing. I'm super happy to see you in 9 months when you've stacked more money.
When you stack more money. And I believe you answered this. I know you did, but I want to circle back around to it. Do you allow people to see or view the install base?
I do tours all the time. I will. A shop tour is 10x more important than any display. I feel very strongly about that. Because it allows you to do a couple things. You can normalize the things you're talking about, right? Because if you walk into the store, right,
mm-hmm.
and I don't sell with my wallet, so I might say some big numbers in front of you, right? And you might think, wow, this guy looked at my shoes and thinks I've got a bunch of money. But then if I walk you through the bay and the very same thing I'm talking about doing for you, we're doing for another client or a bigger job, I've normalized it, right? Or if someone's like, hey, look, I've saved up, now I'm ready to do that audio system. Like the person before, it's like, I'm working towards a Rockford system. Well, here, let me show you this Rockford system we're doing. This thing is the cat's pajamas, man. And sensationalize it a little bit, make it exciting. Nobody needs anything we do, right?
Right.
So you can either ramp up the excitement or make it seem really normal, or you play to somebody's ego and be like, oh, this guy's doing it, and I've done it on 2 other cars. Do you want to do it? And they'll be like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it. I probably have more money than that guy.
Are both of you seeing more and more older cars getting the first upgrade? Seems like holding on to cars longer is getting more prevalent.
I saw that during the financial collapse more than I see it now.
Okay.
Yeah, I would see like executives, business owners, and stuff like that would justify everything they were doing by being like, man, I had to buy the pre-owned 911 Turbo. So, when my employers are like, you got a new car, but no, I got a used car. I had to tighten my belt, right? And then they'd hide all the money in the upgrades that we would do. But cars are lasting longer, right? Statistically speaking, cars are lasting longer. People are putting more miles on them. Interest rates being so high right now are really playing to our favor, because people aren't going to go buy a car that is thousands of dollars more and pay double or triple the APR. So now they want to stay with their car and they need to fall back in love with it. So doing upgrades with us makes them feel better, and it pushes people through to our doors.
So so what do you consider, what year is your classic, or it would be like you're not longer new? Because I mean, obviously, like for me, like a 2020 is still like a new car.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Previous generation or 2 generations old, I think, because it depends on the refresh cycle, right?
Right.
Because if you're talking about Mazda Miata, the current Miata has had 2 micro facelifts, but it's an over 10-year-old car, right? Or you look at like BMW has changed the 4 Series, I don't know how many times in the last 13 minutes. So it really depends on the car, but pretty much most stuff that's 6 to 8 years old. I mean, that's not a new car.
Right. So when you're like, for me, when I look at a car and when I want to replace the infotainment system, I usually have a cutoff. Like if we're at a 2000, anything below like a 2015, the radio's coming out. If the radio can come out, the radio's coming out. I'm not going to DSP into that. I'm not going to screw with whatever's going on. I mean, if there's an Amp Pro or something like that, and the radio is just ridiculously expensive, then yeah, okay, that's fine. But for the most part, cars coming in at the, that are 9 years old, it's coming out.
Right.
It's doable. Do you guys kind of do you feel the same way about that?
I do. If the connectivity isn't up to what people are asking for these days, it's, and you can upgrade it, why not? Like, look at the cars that you can't, that are super popular right now, like GX 460, Lexus SUV. People love those things right now as a step up above 4Runner. They can't go get the new one. If we could replace the radio in those that have factory nav, and retain their air conditioning and all that, I'd be doing a few a week. So there are outliers, but for the most part, correct. If it's, more than 5-6 years old, I guess in your instance, you're saying 9 years old, then replace the radio every single time. I say in certain manufacturers that makes sense.
Yeah, there again, it's like a Toyota. If I could pull the radio, I'm pulling the radio. I don't care if it was built yesterday, because Toyotas just suck. Do you guys do like RVD or ZZ2 types upgrades there to add in CarPlay or Android Auto?
We do. We do. It's yes. Yes, we do.
I know what you're saying. Trust me, I know what you're saying. And as Fernando tells me, these people drive these cars. They understand how to use these buttons and knobs that you don't. So, and I go, I will never buy these cars because this is.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is, but I don't like it. Like.
Yeah. So yes, we do. I am fortunate that I don't. I let the guys that are to my left handle it, and they do a great job.
Yeah. I like this one. It says, this is the type of class I would like to see at the next MasterTech Expo. Now, you've taught plenty of classes, as I've said several times here. You typically do a sales class with the sales pros. You are a sales pro, and you got the cool piece of glass. We were all very excited for you to get that.
Thank you.
Because it's always fun to stand up on stage. We won the same year. So
we did.
You were actually able to carry on a conversation. I, being the one that talks for a living, was not. So I thought that was kind of funny. I was totally like,
I promised myself I'd cry, and I couldn't get a drop.
I didn't cry, but it was there. It was there. it was totally there. And Brian, I actually think I shed more tears when Brian was giving his speech, because he was talking about his dad and all that. And it was. I'm sitting there and I got my camera in front of my face. I'm going, I'm not crying.
Full suck lip.
Yeah.
But we're talking about doing some cool classes. Hopefully I'm invited back to Expo. I did Expo last year. Had a great class. I've got ideas for this year, and I agree. I think more retailers need to be more comfortable with selling outside of their wallet and how to walk people up. I feel that top-down selling is a glass ceiling, and I don't like glass ceilings.
Yeah, all of that. All right, hold on. Let me get rid of this. All right, where are we at in time? All right, so let's just play this game. This is your first time doing this, so what is there anything now after being on here for an hour that you feel you would like to just some wisdom or anything you'd like to throw out there to the fans, to the viewers that are watching this? I think you've done extremely well tonight. I want to thank you for coming on, but I would also like to give you the opportunity to say anything you'd like to add that you may have been kicking around in your head while we were doing this.
Yeah. So for retailers, guys that are in our space, guys and girls that are in our space, just remember nobody needs anything we do. So make it fun, right? Nice. Make it fun. Uh, Take the time to explain the benefits, right? Even if you have a preconceived notion of which way a sale is going to go, it might not be that, right? And then for if there's consumers on here, right?
There are.
If a retailer tells you to stop and save up a bit more money and come back to get what you actually want, just remember, right? It's not often the spider will flick the fly out of the web, right? It's not in our nature. But if someone tells you to stop and plan for what the next step is, right? Nobody told me that when I was a consumer, right? I had one car, I had 9 different head units going through, trying to get better, better, better. I started with replacement coaxes and ended with an 8.5 tweeter and custom kick panels. You know how much money I wasted trying to get there?
Oh yeah.
I wish somebody would have been and said, hey, what is it that you're actually after? Right? And then said, look, we can do this part now. It'll get you to where you need to go so you can save up some money, right? I hate redundant spending on behalf of my clients. I hate doing the same job over and over and over in the same car, right? Take the car apart as little as possible. So wait, do it right, right? On the back to the retailer side, do the right thing, the money will come, right?
Right.
Let somebody know if they're going down the wrong path. Like, and granted, some people just don't want to hear it. So after you say it for the 3rd or 4th time, follow it up with, I've said it for the 4th time. Now I can sleep at night, right? So when you're unhappy in a couple months, look yourself in the mirror, Mr. Consumer, Mrs. Consumer, right? Or if you want to listen to reason, think about it. I'm here next week anyway. I'm not going anywhere. And if you still want to go this way and make this mistake, I'll be here for you and I will take your money with a clear conscience.
Right. And that, to me, that's, and there again, that's why I like going and listening to your classes and having these conversations, because I feel we're very much on the same level. We've all made the mistake of buying way too much car audio crap, not knowing what we were doing, and I agree. I hate going back into something because you were in a hurry, or you
Yes.
didn't want to listen to me, or you thought I was trying to mislead you, or you just have your own agenda and you feel like you know more than I do. And it's like, okay, cool, fine. Sometimes you can lead them where they need to go and you can help them out. Other times you just got to let them bounce their head off the wall and go,
Right.
told you, here
Yeah.
we are. Here we are. Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on, Dan. As always, this was short notice. Thanks to Fernando for not being here. You get to come on. I'd love to have you on when he's here because, he can read the comments and do all this fun stuff.
Give me notice. I'll fly down. I'm not kidding.
I know you will. And we've talked about it.
I was looking at flights. I was trying to figure out how to get down there tonight.
Oh my gosh. No, that's crazy. But no, thank you so much for coming on. As I said, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight and sticking with us. I hope you enjoyed these. As always, we know it's a hit or miss when we have a guest on. I feel Dan did a fantastic job. If you liked it, of course, let us know in the comments like you are now. And if you're watching this on Tuesday morning, let us know how you like the show, as always. And if you love Dan, let us know you love Dan so we can have Dan on again. You guys have a great night, as always. We'll see you later next time. Fade to black. Or I'm just going to hang up. All right. Can't do fade to black. All right. See ya.